as a filmmaker, how did you go about, laying out the facts so that the average person could go and watch this and understand it?
Well, I think the easiest place for an American audience to start would be with the celebrities.
Mm,
Um, you start with the flashy names, you start with the Hollywood aspect of it, and you kind of dig a hole from that area that
mm,
people kind of journey with you into. Um, there are aspects of the story, as you mentioned, that are very complicated and
mm.
probably could make people's eyes glaze over, but are also essential to the story. Like we have
Right.
to get into a little bit of Malaysian politics because so much of what happened involved um, the stability of this country's government, which was completely undermined by this scandal. Um, but when we were in post production, I remember having to just like go into the edit for 2 weeks and rewrite the film backwards
Mm.
because it's so complicated. It's a fire hose of information, and I wanted to streamline that as much as possible for the audience because if you really want it to be complicated, if you want to know exactly the mechanisms people use to steal the money, there's a book out there that's very good called Billion Dollar Whale.
Mm.
Uh, there's newspaper articles, but documentary is a visual medium, and I wanted to do what I could to make the information easily digestible, but also, make it fun to watch.
Yeah.
We add humor, we add levity, we add, fun graphics, and
Mm.
also visually portray some of these places in as respectful and as beautiful a manner as we can.
Mm.
So it's all kind of just, you throw that all in the pot and you cook it up for a little bit, and you try to present something that people will enjoy more than anything and learn something from.
So, what do you think Jolo's motivation was for all this? Do you think it was just to have wealth, to have power? Because it seems like his downfall was, his need to show off and to be so out there with this public profile. No.
I'm no psychologist, so I'm not really sure what motivated him, but a lot of people have guessed that at first it started out just for recognition, but also the celebrities were a means to an end, right? Like he's constantly trying to raise money while also stealing money.
Mm.
So when he's around these other very rich businessmen, having these A-list celebrities around is very useful for him. It's a
Mm.
way of attracting investment. So those kind of go hand in hand. But also later on in the scandal, as he starts to make inroads with the American government. He gets invited to the Obama's Christmas party.
Right.
He starts making contact with the Republican National Committee. He enlists Trump's right-hand man to raise money for him or to protect him from the Department of Justice. It really goes beyond just notoriety and becomes a need to influence activity on the global level, which
Right.
he gets very close to achieving. But what I think brought him down isn't really this need to be out there. It was this kind of nihilism about the way he did things. There was no end game. If you look at someone like Bernie Madoff, this scandal lasted decades because they're stealing money with one hand and giving some of it out with the other so that they
Right.
can perpetuate the scandal and to perpetuate the fraud. But with Jolo and his conspirators, there's no evidence that they ever tried to paper the holes that they're digging because at any opportunity that they had to kind of fill the losses and keep this thing going for a few more years, he would instead buy a $250 million super yacht
Right.
when just like covered up some of these losses. So there was no attempt on his part to ever perpetuate the fraud. It was just this giant, massive hole that he could never fill. Like he was always trying to get more and more and more.
February is the month of love. And if you've listened to the podcast before, you know how in love I am with today's sponsor, OneSkin. Most skincare routines only deliver superficial results, but with OneSkin, you get a scientifically proven treatment that improves with OneSkin.
Right. So the one MDB fund it was supposed to benefit ordinary Malaysians, right? I mean, so are you saying that at no point did the Malaysians feel the effects of getting something out of this? I mean, it was all for not, it was all, just terribly spent.
Well, I don't think it's absolute, but I'd say definitely a vast majority of the funds that were earmarked for development and infrastructure were just stolen.
Right.
There are, I think, a couple of things that ended up happening, maybe like a highway or a lone hospital. But we're talking about sums upwards of $5 billion in Malaysia, especially, that should buy you more than just one highway and one hospital.